Hello and welcome to this Car Pod.
I'm Kenan.
I'm Filippo.
And today we're going to talk about cars.
And trucks.
Now, I'm on vacation right now, and so we don't have any news to report because this has been pre-recorded. So instead, we're just going to talk about cars.
Great.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Okay, we begin our car conversation. I want to discuss the Montana thing.
Oh, wow. So the Montana LLC registration thing.
Yeah,
It
let's
avoids-
just talk it.
You just, man,
All right.
Let's
So-
just get it out there.
starting off with a banger.
Two big benefits.
Okay.
Avoid sales tax
Yeah.
and avoid inspections, which in states that do safety inspections or smog inspections
Yeah.
So
could matter.
for those who are unfamiliar, if you want to, you can register a car to your business in Montana. You can start an LLC, register your car there. A lot lot of people use this to get around taxes or emissions things.
Or both.
Yeah,
Or both,
and
and that's
as a
the
person who has registered now 7-ish cars to Montana LLCs, it's very easy. You don't need like a business.
No, there's like
it's
a
a shell
business
company. The business just owns a car.
With the wildest business names, by the way.
Yeah.
Like
Well-
the businesses that do this for you seem so illegitimate.
Well, also just whenever you look at wild cars, like the list of, I think there's someone that publishes every year what cars are registered in Montana.
Yeah,
the
it's
list is
crazy.
Like Chiron and like
Yeah,
F50.
It's unbelievable. And so everyone in the high-end exotic car world does this. I personally disavow it.
Oh.
More or less.
More or less.
I currently have one car registered in Montana, but the title has just arrived, and I am going to go and register it personally to myself here in a couple of weeks, which I challenge all of my fellow Montanans to do. I have done that with all my other cars. I register them personally.
Just like to flow them through the state of Montana.
There is a significant benefit to starting in Montana, especially for imported cars, which is what I have done, because Montana has a great process for that stuff because they do it all the time for other weirdos. And so I do it with my imported cars. The Countach I imported from Canada. And it's a little bit sketchy to get an imported car, take your title, all your documents to the DMV, and if they say no, they've got your, like, it's worrisome.
But the
Whereas
Montana
if you-
DMV.
Montana, I know I can get a title. So I start with Montana, and then I take it to my state and get a easy enough. And I don't tax evade. I've paid all the taxes, et cetera, et cetera. Other people have different opinions about this. Kenan?
Well, yeah, I can see why people do it. Although immediately when I see it on an exotic car, particularly in Southern California, I'm like, you can't afford the car. You're
afford the
dodging taxes. Now, some of us registered our exotic cars in the state of California, had a California tag, paid the sales tax, was made fun of for being an idiot, but I did it so that I could have my plate.
I didn't make fun
Same.
of you. I just thought
It was insane. Well, you made fun of me when I went to then sell it, and you
we
were
sold
like,
it 3 months later. It would have been nice not to have paid the $9,000 in sales tax after owning the
yeah,
car
but
for
I made
90
more. I
days.
made more than I bought the
It
car for,
worked out.
and all the, and I got very lucky.
I
But
think that this Montana thing is just the biggest load of BS. And I think that people, am I wrong?
you think it's a loophole that should be closed? Is what you're saying?
Well, it is closed. Like Montana allows it, and other states do too.
Well, no,
but your state,
eliminated is what
whatever your state is already doesn't allow it.
Well, yeah,
they
and
just don't enforce it to the level that they ought to.
And some states have pursued that. Georgia really cracked down on that pretty hard, and went actually actively went after people under the heading of tax evasion.
Massachusetts went crazy on it a few years ago. Colorado sent a guy to jail.
Yeah,
For doing it for an RV. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
that sucks. That's tough.
I just like those people buy those RVs so it's like $500,000. They like retire and spend all their money on this RV, sell their house, and like that's their thing. And then it's like $500,000 and they got to pay like 40 in sales tax. Like, I don't want to do that. And so they instead go to jail.
And for some people, I can
housing.
see the moral argument that on an older car, a used car, sales tax has already been paid when it was new.
This
It's
is
been
a
paid.
democracy.
And it's like, but
if
that's
you
just
feel
how it
that
goes.
way, then
Yeah.
you should
Move to Montana.
no. You should write to your state legislator and try to convince them that sales tax shouldn't be paid on a used good.
Or
Right? Like if you really feel that way, it's not your responsibility. Like I personally, I think we should be allowed to murder people. So I'm going to start murdering people.
You heard it here first, so y'all.
I'm going to start with
look
Ken.
at well, I'm very afraid.
I think
Is
it's
there
all a bunch
anything
of-
worse though than seeing like a new Taycan registered in Montana, like
there's
where
a
it's just
dude-
so clearly just tax evasion?
There's a dude in my neighborhood who's got a Range Rover, like a 15.
I'm thinking of the same car.
And it's like,
Yep.
dude, you saved like $3,000. Like you're a pathetic person. You can't spend. Well, I don't give the government money. Yeah, but like, come on. Like,
Yep.
this is just sad behavior.
Yep.
When I see a Chiron, I feel a little differently. Then
I
it's
also
like, oh.
do
Yeah,
get
it's a
it for
couple
emissions.
$100,000.
I feel better about the people who do it for emissions. For
Yeah.
emissions, because California is annoying. It's particularly annoying.
In that it cares about clean air.
It's not just that, though, because my RS2 would have passed emissions here, but California doesn't allow a tailpipe test. That's not enough. You also have to get the car, like, CARB certified, and then it can pass the same tailpipe test that your car does, and it would have. And so for that car, I briefly did have it registered in Montana. Now, there is a process to get a car California certified, and my Mercedes has been through that, and it's incredibly difficult. And they make it
Takes
too hard.
a ton of time.
They make
costs $10,000.
California ought to have a carve out for enthusiasts who drive a short number of miles, because ultimately those people are driving here in California anyway.
Exactly.
They're just doing it on Arizona plates at their nephew's farm or whatever. I don't know what people do.
Right. I also the carb is even odder. Isn't it true? Like if you carb a car in California, register it, and then you sell to somebody out of California, they register it in their state, and then the car sells back into California, you have to go through carb again.
Got to go through it again.
That's nuts. And it's like 10 grand usually, and like
It was like 12 grand in like
9 months, right?
Yeah, it's a process.
That's
Without
just
the
outrageous.
Part of that process is the general federalization, but carb on top of that is it was
Crazy.
like 12 grand for the G-Wagon or something like that. And it's mostly paperwork. There's not a lot of physical anything that goes into it. The G-Wagon, remember, was sold in the U.S. with the very same engine.
Right.
Completely legal.
Same.
It's
Yep.
wild.
Yep. And
But so that's stupid. But for the tax thing, and then there are people who are like, well, it's technically your business, so it's totally legal. And it's like, we all understand what's going on here. And to me, it's more that when I see the person with Montana plates, I just think that person cannot afford that car.
Yeah.
You see it on a 360 or an Aston Martin Rapide
Well,
or a Continental GT.
We had an F430 here that was in for review, and I had to drive it to the Ferrari shop because it needed something with the top, and it had Montana tags on it, and I was like, I felt really cool to be driving Ferrari, but then I'm like, I know if I saw myself, I'd be like, this guy's such a poser. This guy, yeah, exactly.
Oh, and it's on a Chiron, it's one thing. On an F40, it's one thing. You almost can't not. On a 360,
I'll respectfully disagree. If you have the money for a Chiron or an F40, you can pay sales tax.
it seems like a lot.
Seems like a cost of ownership here.
I agree, having done it. The funny one though is a 360 that's 60 grand.
Yeah. Well,
Those
how much are
people
you
save
really saving?
$4,000.
I'm sure some is because they have like an aftermarket exhaust or something like that.
That's part of it, but definitely a lot of it is they. And now, when I had my 360 years
Montana.
ago, I did it, and you want to know why? It's because I couldn't afford the car.
Yep.
I was a little boy, and I did not have enough money to even buy the car, let alone title it.
right.
And that's why I did it. And so that's what other people are doing. As
I
well.
do love the flip case of seeing a car that's actually from Montana, which it does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just appreciate it so much more. That Ford Focus, they're from Montana.
It is a big
That's great.
flex also to run actual. Like my Ford GT's always been titled in California. I paid the sales
Big
tax.
flex is a strong.
You show up at a Cars and Coffee, you're like, yup,
If I see an
did it.
F50 with a California tag on, it's like,
that is a flex.
dang.
Fair.
Because even like when that car was new or even a couple of years old or whatever, it's still a really expensive car, paid a lot of sales tax.
Yeah.
It's cool.
F50, very rare.
Very rare.
Because it would have to be a U.S. car.
Yep.
And that's the thing about those Ferraris, too. Like,
Yep. This is
you can't register any of those things in California, even if you wanted to.
California does make it very difficult. That's also why NAS Defenders are worth so much, because
It's the
you can
only
just register. Yep.
For small.
Yeah. For small. But so that's Montana.
I
disavow it.
I just want to go on the record as disavowing Montana, even though I currently have a car registered in Montana.
Gotta
Such a
love that.
fascinating thing to admit, just publicly. It'll be interesting.
But I'm gonna register it. I have it took forever to get the title. It only just came, and now that it's here, I'm gonna do it. And I think that everybody should do it, and I think that it's not correct that they don't. You disagree?
That's not correct that they don't what?
That they don't register their cars locally in their own state?
No, people should.
I've always
Locally
registered my
in the
cars
state where they
whatever.
live. Yeah,
Yep.
agreed.
I've always done that.
Well, what? Yeah, in the state where they live.
Yep.
What's the problem? You're calling me out because I have Massachusetts.
Correct.
Well, I live there. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, right.
I told the CHP, I'll get a driver's license in Massachusetts. What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? The world is not set up for people who live in multiple places. So I don't know
I
what the
just wanted
solution
to go
is.
down this
boo-hoo
road.
for you.
Right.
That's so difficult.
You know, you say that, but like, letter of the law, I can't it's
Yeah.
illegal to comply.
Yeah.
It is not possible. But regardless, I have those cars registered to my home where I live.
Can we talk about a different cheap person topic?
Yeah.
All right, I am a cheap person.
Yeah.
I register my cars in California,
Right.
Because my cars are all worth $10,000.
Right.
So the sales tax implication minimal,
Negligible.
and I don't modify my cars unlike Kenan, so I'm good. I'm not gonna mission.
my cars are all California legal, so
Yep. Thanks
Yeah.
to a chip and a tune. But anyway, move on.
That didn't happen. But I am considering for the first time in my life spending actual money on a vehicle.
Right, you're gonna go
We
see
mentioned this, I think, on a prior podcast, just kind of thinking about what would I buy. how do I convince myself to actually do this? Like from an sheer
Filippo,
economic perspective, it doesn't make any sense.
don't.
Years of therapy.
You don't.
Yeah,
it's therapy.
It's therapy.
And I just should just give up on the thought of owning a better car.
No,
No,
I think
you should
that-
just do it.
But like, why?
Because life is worth living.
Will my added benefit be worth that amount? Yeah.
That's what you have to decide. Me and Kenan have decided that.
right. You
And you
decided
have
that a couple
where
$1 million
you're
worth
living.
of benefit.
That's right. I have decided that. And Kenan has decided for himself. And you have decided for yourself that you would rather look at your bank. Does it give you as much pleasure looking at your bank account as it would to have
I got pretty
cool
good
car?
interest rate. Market's doing well.
Well, then there you go. Maybe that's your answer. Some people, I think that is the case. They would rather drive a Toyota Camry and be financially independent.
But what you have to again, you're focusing purely on just the initial amount you have to spend.
That
on the
is
car.
true.
If you really
Cars don't
focus,
really
if you
depreciate.
shift your
Yeah.
focus more to cost of ownership, like if you were to buy this Corvette, drive it, sell it,
I'm
you're gonna
considering
lose
a
next to
C7
nothing.
Corvette. I think the C7 Corvette is one of the best cars in the world. Decided.
Best cars in the world.
I'm obviously
I think
exaggerating.
it's good at
I'm
its-
obviously
at
exaggerating.
its price point.
I think it's a
I've
great
decided.
car.
I've decided.
I think it's a great car for 40 grand. Truly, handles a
Yeah,
lot of my
no,
needs.
I agree. I agree.
But it's 40 grand.
Right.
That's
But
4
it's-
times the price of my Abarth.
But you're probably not going to lose.
But you're not going to lose. That's
But
the
I'll
thing.
lose more.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wouldn't buy that car. If your main goal is not to lose
but
money,
inevitably you'll lose more. Taxes will be more. Insurance will probably be more. And even if I lose a little bit, even if it doesn't depreciate, it's still going to cost me a little bit more than
there is
my car
always,
does.
whenever I buy a car, and I've continued ratcheting up on what I spend, there is
Yeah.
always a period of buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
For spending the money because I could have had the money. There is always, without exception.
Interesting.
I have never had a car where I just instantly felt, the Countach actually maybe the lone exception in my entire life, where I've just instantly felt like, yes, that was the right decision. Always. It's like, that was too much. I shouldn't have done it. This is a mistake. It doesn't drive well enough to justify this. I'm not using enough to justify this. Always. The first, with the yellow Defender, it was like that for 4 months.
I thought you were going to say 7
was
years.
less.
Okay.
But there is
Yeah.
always that period, because once you
And then it goes
jump
away,
into the
you
pool,
think.
you're wet, and it's like, oh.
And then you think it goes away.
For me, it did. For you, I'm
you.
not sure.
I don't know.
That's why you need to figure this out.
Right.
But
That's-
maybe you could buy the car and take the leap. What's
Also,
the worst that
40
could
grand isn't what it once was.
happen? Yeah, that's
And
true.
that, like, a $40,000 car used to seem so expensive, and now it's just
Right.
the average
Inflation
price of a
has
new
happened.
car.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
less than
Yeah,
average
and
price
there are a
of
lot
new
of
car.
cars.
Yeah, it is less than the average price of a new car. Although that's not saying a lot. New cars are very expensive now, just generally. They have a lot of stuff in them. You ever get in a new car?
Rarely.
It's got giant screens.
It's got screens, cameras. I don't know how they work, according to you.
I had a Lotus yesterday that had
Am I
LiDAR. So a lot of people actually ask me this question. How do you justify it to yourself?
I think you got to just accept that it's
Well, if
not a
you-
rational financial
isn't.
purchase.
Right.
It's like
if you're buying something for
joy.
fun, yeah.
I
which-
don't do that either.
The
though.
way you
But you-
justify
you
it
sh- you
is
should.
you have to decide that at some point you have to live.
Oh.
And so the question is, I want an F40, but I have just decided that I like it would make me live less because it
Got
would
it.
say no. But I have justified these cars, right? And you need to find that equilibrium for you. And
Sure.
right now it's an $8,000 Fiat 500.
10,000. Come on. Give me some
The eight
credit
when
here.
it sells with the paint looking like that.
I'll do what I can.
All right. Helpful advice.
That's how I think you have to do
Didn't
it.
got to no conclusion here, Ken.
No, there's no
No,
conclusion.
no,
because it's
no. The
something
conclusion is you
privately
have to do
reflect
yourself.
on. Yes.
It's a personal issue
Right.
that you need to resolve
I
yourself.
think that I'm not, outside of you all and everybody I work with and a lot of my friends, I'm not around car people. My
Right.
wife is not a car person. Nobody in my family
Right.
is a car person. I've advised to
you
one of
know-
my closest friends that they buy a Corolla hybrid the other day.
You know
Like
how you
that's
might
that's
get
where
over
they
it?
are, and like they're like, I helped them build a spreadsheet to figure out which car is like the most cost effective for them. So spending more
Right. It
just to
does-
have a different car.
Here's the
seems
thing.
foreign to me.
I think it might help him
Oh.
is if he ends up getting a really good deal on it. He would feel so good
yeah.
about the deal
If you're
that
trying to
would
sell
get
a
him into the
manual
pool and he'd be
early
wet and
C7
swimming around and he'd be
Corvette.
fine.
That's so true.
So that's what you need to do. Find a deal.
If anybody wants to give me a deal on
and
an
you love
early
hunting.
C7
You
Corvette,
love this. You love hunting.
I spent some time this weekend looking.
there you are.
Oh yeah.
Just
No,
wait.
no.
Patience.
Nah, that's a good deal.
I do think that being in the world of car people, like I didn't have any interest in a Ford GT. I've always liked the Ford GT. I didn't have any interest in one until I came to California. And then so many people I met have exotic sports cars, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And it kind of like talked me into it.
Right.
And I think that not being around those people, like not a single one of my wife's friends has any concept of what the Carrera GT costs. Not literally no concept. Like if they knew that, literally zero concept. And I think that it's, that's, if you're living in that world, it's a little bit hard to be like, I got a Corvette too. And
I mean, especially for Corvette, there is some stigma there.
Yep.
My hairdresser today got a haircut.
Looks nice.
Thank you. Told me that he was thinking about if he was going to get a sports car, he'd get a Corvette. And I said, there's some stigma. And he said, really? What is it?
Oh.
So I don't know that everybody knows that. I think that's like car people know that kind of thing.
Right.
Maybe.
I would.
I think regular people want a Corvette.
Right. It's cool.
Yeah.
American.
Right. Okay, that is Filippo's thought of the day, his existential crisis of the week. There have been several.
Pondering it for the next month or two.
Yeah, you'll be pondering it until the next podcast.
Yep.
When we'll talk about some other existential. Okay. Kenan, you have a topic for us today.
Yes, outside of Filippo's therapy for his car-related pains,
I
had a thought the other day. Now, admittedly, I drive a car from 2002.
Right.
And so, it's not exactly modern, but I was thinking about things that have been innovated, automotive innovations that did not need to be innovated.
Right.
One of the great ones, and we talked about this because the Carrera GT has it, is the lack of a dipstick, the digital oil level readout.
Worst.
Now, can you explain exactly the issue that you encounter with this?
The Carrera GT has a digital oil level read. It does not have a dipstick. You can't manually read it.
There's
Which
no
is wild
physical
for an
dipstick.
enthusiast car.
Unbelievable.
From 05 especially.
So
the digital age, the Germans wanted to innovate.
So the result is that you can't measure the fuel or the oil very easily. And so the other day I was driving it, we were going to go on a long mountain drive, and the other day I was driving it and the low oil light came on. But I measured it digitally and it was indeed low. So I got in, got gas for the car, measured it right after I got gas. 7 minutes later, car's still warm, measures right in the center. So it's just like, I have no idea how much oil is in the car. I just have to trust that the shop that just serviced it well, which I do. By the way, we did the drive. We did because I was not too worried about it since it's all over the place all the time. We did the whole drive, 100 miles, 120 miles maybe, all the way up there, drove hard, had a lot of fun, had a good time. It was cold, it was wet, it was fun.
It was great.
Came all the way home. I dropped off Kenan, literally as I'm pulling into my garage, oil level low.
So maybe it is. Maybe
the car doesn't leak. Like it's BS. It's faulty, right? It's faulty. And that is an innovation that didn't need it.
E60 M5, same thing. You have to go through this ridiculous procedure to check it, and it's like
isn't every newer BMW that?
Yeah, and then
it
became like after that 06, like kind of is when that started. And so you ran into this on a Porsche Taycan, I think, or Panamera that you rented, yeah. And it's like, what was wrong with the dipstick?
Right.
It's reliable every single time.
I actually think that the digital one would be better because you don't have to get your hands dirty. You don't have to, if it was reliable.
If it were reliable, but it's not.
Right.
And it
or
still
have
isn't.
a redundancy. That would be nice.
A redundancy makes sense. Like a lot of people don't know how to check it.
Here's the problem I have with redundancies. If you have that, why not just have the original? Like electronic door openers are a great example. It's like, oh yeah, this really cool way to open the car, and then it's like, yeah, but you got a Bowden cable.
I don't get that. That was really weird.
There's another great example. It's on a similar vein. The Ferrari F430, a good example. Like to open the frunk, you have to press a button, and it's like, oh, how cool! We got to press a button. Then you turn the car off, button doesn't work anymore.
Right.
So what do you have to do?
That
Well,
seems
they
like
put a Bowden cable.
No, yeah,
they put a Bowden cable, so you just pull that, and you end up doing that because guess what? It's faster, and it works with the cars on or off. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just another thing. Like these are just annoyances. It's like it's
the best example is the BMW turn signals that wouldn't cancel.
Right.
Which now BMW has disavowed, but the Subaru BRZ and the Scion 86, Toyota FRS 86, AE 86, GR 86 uses that to this day.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's trash and they do. I don't know.
I eventually do get used to it, but man, it's just
but why? Why mess with that?
Why mess with the turn signals worked for 100 years?
Totally. I am not one of these people who I generally love automotive innovation more than almost all of my viewers and you guys. But I agree. Some of this stuff.
Well, I'm for it when it actively makes the experience better or more efficient or faster, whatever.
Right.
But when it's the turn signal,
just let our lives be easy and don't screw with it.
Exactly. Just sometimes things are the way they are because that was the best solution that was developed and it works.
Right.
Just
another good example, by the way, is in the mid 2000s cars, including the Ford GT, that they had a starter button because that
Oh,
was
yeah.
cool.
But you have to turn the
but
key.
they didn't. They hadn't developed the technology of proximity keys yet, and so you had to.
That-
Yeah, the
that
Aston is
advantage,
like
yeah.
that. The S2000 was like
Exactly.
that.
The Viper is
like
The Viper
like
is
that.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
full keyless go, where you can just get in, key in the pocket, or even without a key, like just on your phone, get in the car, start it, run. Makes a lot of sense. Great. But it was that transitional period in between that's like, what were they
where a
thinking?
button was cool, and so
Right.
they did it, and it was like. This is
and then also
ridiculous.
with the Ferrari is a good example. You can't turn the car off then by pressing
Right.
the button. You have to
Which is
turn the
wild.
key to turn it off. So
the
it's,
button really only has a gimmicky function.
yeah,
It was cool though. At least that was cool. Some of the stuff we're talking about, like the checking the oil,
that's
is
just
not
annoying,
even cool.
and it's when you can't rely on something about something as important.
Yeah, no, that's-
in a high performance car, especially a $1 million
That's
one.
right. When I first had the car and it first came on, which was like 3 weeks after I had gotten it back from a shop, and so I was like terrified. Is it leaking? Did they not fill it right? I took it to the dealer, and they did the whole process, measured it, added oil, all that. And I thought, oh well, I'll just buy oil and keep it in the car. I'm not. No, I'm going to take it in for its annual service every year. Trust that they fill it right, and then that'll be life. And when the thing comes on, the thing comes
You
on.
should consider, now that it's come on multiple times in your $1 million
But
plus
the
car.
problem is, it came on,
And
and
you
then
won't
it
know.
measured perfectly, and then it came.
know.
Like it's totally random. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's the same with my tire pressure monitor doesn't work right now too. That's easier because I can manually measure that. Yeah, those fail though in all cars after all.
and it comes on. The warning light comes on when it's running, right? It's a dry sump engine, so you have to check the oil level while the engine's running.
Yeah, it comes on when it's running. Although you make a good point, it has come on when it isn't, when it just started the car, which doesn't even make sense. Like that's another problem. It's not functioning properly. This is not unique to my car. This is common to all of these
You
vehicles
also,
that have
you also had a
electronic.
TPMS thing that was related to, wasn't it? Like the like tire pressure
I
was
don't mind
impossibly
the
high. and
TPMS is failing though. That's a really good thing to have TPMS
Yeah.
because
Yes.
I'm not
Love
checking
it.
my tire
yeah.
pressures often.
It saved
and
me
you can
once.
still have the redundancy of doing it
Do you
yourself.
want to tell the people about that time you in a car you don't have TPMS on?
Yeah, the Ford GT. Do you know the story? Ford GT. One
Oh,
time?
yeah.
I drove around for like 2 weeks on a flat tire.
yeah, yeah.
And I only discovered that it was a
There's
problem because it
known
scraped
cars
going into
do
my
this,
driveway,
Doug.
and apparently it's that much. And I was like, why is it
It is like a very hard sidewall tire.
That's the thing. These performance car tires now have such hard, like defined sidewall that you
don't
almost
really tell.
You don't
I
even
agree.
need to put air in them.
Yeah. Airless tires, guys.
It's
Where
good
the
advice for
future is
people.
today.
especially in a car with no traction control.
I want to-
Before we move on, I love that every top one you've mentioned is from 05.
Well,
like
that's
the
kind
newest
of
cars
when
I
they
kind of aware
came
of.
into,
But like,
like,
it is
being-
interesting that they're all like, we talk a lot about like gear selectors being needlessly complicated now.
I don't
and
agree
like
with that.
I don't either. Like all the ones that we're talking about, I think are the worst, and they're from that era.
Yeah, that era was tough because automakers were desperately trying to add new technology that wasn't ready or that they thought they could make cool. Or
I
whatever.
don't care about. I mean, the Lincoln one that had a lawsuit. That one wasn't great for the shifter. but-
People don't understand what people don't understand about gear selectors specifically. This is a big pet peeve of mine. The reason automakers are going to these gear selectors that like twist or that are buttons or that have a weird thing is because electronic gear selectors allows for the immense
Right.
safety component of when you open the door, the car can automatically shift into park. And people don't realize, people are like, I would never put my car in drive and open the door. It's like, go on YouTube. There are hundreds of videos of people who
Yep.
would say the same
Yep.
thing, and then their car goes off a hillside because they forgot to put it in park when
Yep.
they. And so having that ability is really, and that's
and it
almost
frees up
that's-
so much space. Like,
it
it's
frees up
generally better.
space, but that's the primary reason why automakers
Yeah.
have gotten rid of the old things because they now have an electronic thing and they can have that safety net, which I like. I want to discuss the Carrera GT.
Oh, speaking of,
Yes,
We drove it.
We both shared a like almost religious experience in that car.
So good.
It
Greatest
was
car
so
ever made.
good. What do you want to talk about with Carrera?
I just wanted to mention it's great.
Tell
Well,
me more about
I
your
give my
experience.
thoughts as a
Yeah.
non-owner, and so I have appreciated the Carrera GT from a distance forever. Someone in my hometown bought one brand new. I remember seeing it for the first time. It's like seeing a spaceship because it was just like, wow, it's a Carrera GT.
Yeah.
But I've never lusted after it. Like I've always appreciated, but never lusted after it, and I never really got to experience it at full chat. Like I've driven them a little bit, but not really like experiencing it. And the things I walked away with is, one, putting the top on makes a tremendous difference. Not just because of the cold, because we were freezing with the top down, put the top on, and then we realized, like, man, you just hear the engine so much better. You hear that
With the top
wonderful
on?
induction on it.
Yeah,
with
you
the top
do. You
on.
hear it better with
You
the
don't really
top on.
hear it
That's
much
like
with
a
the top
generally
off.
agreed
because
thing about the
there's
car.
not wind noise.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the Carrera GT is normally thought of as being one of the best sounding cars ever, but
Yeah.
it's really from behind it generally,
Right.
because you
Right.
get that crazy wail. But with the top on, amazing.
I left it on.
And we
It's still on.
It's really good. It's like the experience is so different because I've ridden in it with you with it down, and
the problem really is getting in and out.
It's hard, much harder.
It's just harder, and
much
eventually
harder.
I'll take it off for that reason primarily.
The chassis dynamics were unbelievable. How stable it felt. It has a reputation for being snappy and kind of difficult and scary, but man, it just felt planted everywhere you threw it. And I think the suspension upgrades really did that. But it was just we would hit a bump and it didn't upset the ride. It didn't upset it, and the car just went boom and just kept going. And it was just
so stable at speed. It handles so well. The transmission that warmed up, once the interior warmed up.
Yeah, he has this stupid and completely unfounded, almost like boomer just misguided belief that we had the top on so it got warmer on the interior.
All right, I've only ever driven the car with the roof off. Put the top on. Put the top on. We also had the heat on and the heated seats on. I mean, it was hot in the cabin, right? Hot. Like the hottest I've ever been inside there.
Like when he says it's 80 degrees.
It was hot.
That's warm.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Because we had left the heat on from when it was off and from when the roof was off. We just put it. But then the shifter just felt so good, like the best it has ever felt. And I think that it's because there was so much warmth in the cabin. It really freed things out. Kennan thinks that's the stupidest thing.
That's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
It
has absolutely no bearing.
It's
I don't
up there
think
for sure.
All the vents, none of the vents point anywhere near the shifter. They're all pointed out the people in the car.
But I agree with that. But the entire interior was warm, and so it warmed all of the
it's a
cables.
If it's in a tunnel, and
the tunnel but the tunnel is susceptible to temperature. You're not given a good reason why you think this is stupid. I think this is right.
It was
I think
nowhere
it's better
near,
now than I did then.
It was the reason it felt better is because you're actually driving the car and getting a lot of temperature in the gearbox, which makes the gearbox oil get up to temperature and allows it to shift more smoothly. That's what happens when you drive a car and actually get it. I think it's because you just putter around in town generally, and you drive up occasionally. And
but I've driven. I drove it to Palm Springs and back. I mean, I drive the car pretty.
But not hard. I think because what you're talking about is you were largely just cruising, going to Palm Springs and back.
Speed,
you weren't necessarily
I did Peak to Palms or Pine to Peaks or Pine to Palms or Pines to Peaks or Pines to Palms.
Yeah, nobody knows. But even that's
Palms.
That's also
Pines is actually what it's called.
It's a relatively short road. Admittedly, that's it's not that far.
Yeah,
I think this time
that whole drive is.
I think you drove it. I think you drove this car enough this time, and then drove it hard enough where everything got to the temperature in which it's designed.
And presumably
to
a lot of
and it stayed there.
For tight roads.
I think it's because I had the heated seats on.
I think you should try this.
They were great, by the way. The heated seats.
Wow,
Jimmy.
I will say the Carrera GT is still not a car I lust after. I don't. If I had the money, I don't. If you had $1.3 million to buy one, I'd rather buy. For me right now, I'd rather buy 5 other cars. But
what if you already had a Countach and a Ford GT? Let me ask you this.
Right, in your situation,
would you rather have a Veyron or a Carrera GT?
That's a really difficult one.
They're the same cost. I saw a Veyron sell the other day, really nice one, for about what I paid for the Carrera GT.
That's really difficult because the Carrera GT is more the kind of car I like. It's a manual analog with a crazy engine. That is very difficult. I'd have to think about that. Well, the Veyron's more iconic. Period. I think it's one of the most iconic cars of all time. The Carrera GT is one of the most iconic cars to car enthusiasts. Whereas the Veyron,
I guess the question is, do you want to flex on the general public, or do you want to have a great driving experience? You can ponder that while he ponders how to justify a car purchase.
That's true, but then again, I could just dispense of you and you're gone, and you won't catch me.
And I wouldn't care. And you want to know why? Because I'd be sitting in my warm interior, shifting those nice,
that's the thing.
gooey cables.
In a Formula One engined.
No, all right, we're not going to go down that road.
Okay, now it's time for our next topic, which is the car market.
Yes.
Kennan, you have an interesting topic for us.
Yes, we sold a car recently on Cars and Bids I found to be really interesting. So it's a 93 Acura NSX, manual, kind of what you'd expect. The big thing though, 234,000 miles. Pretty outrageous figure. You don't see these cars don't come up with miles very often. We've sold a number of NSXs.
Of cars of this type.
But nonetheless, the seller sold it no reserve. It had a recent engine rebuild, and the car sold for, and it's a manual one, not an auto, and it sold for $60,450, which feels like a lot for a 234,000 mile NSX. But I also think it's probably ready to do another.
This is kind of your situation with your M5.
Yeah,
right?
high
You're
mileage.
230,000, whatever you're at in your car.
Well maintained.
Your
Yep.
hope is similar to, I think, their hope, which was with great maintenance.
I'm never gonna sell mine, but yeah, but
like with great maintenance, there is some retained value.
yes, I think I've ran that with the 355 too. My 355 was high mileage. I did a ton of maintenance on it, and that I think carried it a lot. And I think that's the exact same situation here.
These pictures were taken in Cheeseman Park in Denver.
Congratulations for knowing that.
I mean, pretty easy to figure out given it's right there, but yeah.
I didn't see that.
And the Colorado plate.
There's one interesting thing about the NSX. They've never gotten crazy expensive, but there is a floor. The NSX operates in like this weird
what's the
world.
cheapest one we sold?
If there was a 234,000 mile Ferrari 348, it would not have sold for $60,000.
I'm gonna push select manual.
I'm gonna hit him with that again when he's paying attention because I think he'll agree.
We sold a cheap one in July of 2020, so that was pre-market.
Well, this one's probably the most related because this one had a ton of miles.
Nah, manual.
I said it's manual. So this one had 207,000 miles on it. Very similar situation, one owner largely. Also an early NSX and a coupe as well. Yep. 52.5. So like there's definitely a floor for
my
this.
recollection is that was well maintained, but didn't have the same litany of recent services that the one last week's had.
This one was a tip. The 48 one was a tip.
Nah, it was a manual, but it's okay.
No, that one was a manual.
That's what
I said. I set them all.
Why did we write manual?
Unmodified manual NSX.
This was very early days in cars.
It was the early days.
This is a month after we launched.
Yeah, before
stuff has changed. Before we would have accepted that as a lead image. Let me go back and fix that.
I still remember this guy. He took the car. I mean, it was one of the first like high dollar cars we had. And he took the car and he put it parking lot with trash bins in the back.
Oh, and most of the pictures were taken indoors. I forgot about that.
Anyway, NSXs do have an interesting floor because they're reliable. I think a reliable sports car will always be worth X amount of money, whereas a Ferrari at this level would definitely be like a car that people would be really afraid of.
What would have been 1993? What would have been the
348 would have been the Ferrari. What is it? What do you think a 200,000 mile 348 is worth? Not 60 for sure.
Didn't Tyler Hoover sell his with us? His 348.
No way he had that many miles. You can tell
his 348 was very high mileage.
You wanted that Ferrari, but
I'm gonna, interesting.
What's highest?
There it is. Yep. So his car was crazy. It was 101,000
mile TMU car, which sold for only 46. And that was only a year ago, so the market was probably about the same. If this car had double the mileage, I guarantee.
Now, of course, Tyler also had.
It's Hain.
Yeah, I don't know.
He Hained it a little bit there.
You like that?
Yeah.
The problem modifying Ferraris.
Yeah, you should
never. It's not that you shouldn't. It's just that
you never.
It really has an impact on values more than any other car.
Or you can modify, but set it back to stock before you get rid of it.
Right,
because,
which I think Hoovy wasn't going to do for this.
Well, no, and this car's 101,000 mile TMU 348. I mean, I don't blame him at all. Yeah. But nonetheless, yeah, I agree. I think the NSX, for all the reasons you outlined,
there's like an interesting.
There's a definite floor.
Although a super nice 355 sells for more than any nice NSX ever will. Like a GTS stick is a 250 car. Yeah. Maybe the nicest NSX in the world brings that. But like it is interesting.
It is.
But Senna would have had to have coughed on it or something for it to be worth it.
Right. Like Jay Leno. Okay, next market report topic, Filippo.
All right, let's
give us something interesting.
So JDM cars have become both very popular and very prevalent.
Yes.
On our site. So obviously there are some that everybody knows about and lusts after. We sold an R33 Skyline GTR today, which is in a month ago for you all. So sold well. These are still really desirable. But we've also seen a ton of, let's call them less interesting JDM cars on the site. Now, we still love having them. But people are importing all kinds of fairly just pedestrian traffic cars.
Totally.
I mean, like, scroll up to even what's live right now, Kenan. We got a Gloria with 22,000 miles, a Crown Majesta, which is an LS, basically, a Land Cruiser, an Active. But then if you scroll down, there's also a bunch of like, I know, you're right.
No, but what you want to talk about is this
the
Suzuki Alto.
Although like low miles, but
how does someone justify? I think about this all the time. How does someone justify the cost to import such a vehicle? It's not everybody thinks it's really expensive to import.
It's not a couple grand,
but it's $3,800. I mean,
the car was probably $10.
The car was probably cheap, but go back. I mean, there's a bunch of these.
But there are a bunch. Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you rather? Let's say you're a dealer. Wouldn't $5,000 for this SVX? Like, if you're
import
a dealer,
something better.
Wouldn't you rather make your money not trusting like title documents and working in the DMV and having the cars
Yeah.
take
It just
a month
seems
on
like
the
a
water.
headache for no upside.
Really does. Like the price is
think about
just
it a lot.
so low on these.
Totally.
And to be fair, they're cheap in Japan, so it's not that they're expensive. And also, current currency transfer rates are the Japanese yen is not worth as much as it once was.
Yeah,
that makes it easier to buy some of these
And
cars.
some
there.
of the cars have value.
Yeah.
Land Cruiser for 17, another Land Cruiser 21.
but
they bring
some
money.
just are.
But others, yeah.
They're cool, but they're just traffic. And especially in Japan, they would have just been.
Oh yeah,
a car.
there have been cars come up, JDM cars come up that I have
Yeah.
never heard
Go to
of.
the next page.
There have been JDM cars come up that I have never heard of. That I'm just like this Ford Telstar that
Right.
came up and I was like, what? I don't know what this is. I don't know where it came from. But it's some JDM thing that was rebadged as a Ford. But you get the point. Go back.
Like
There's
clearly,
so many-
there's still some demand for them. $4,500 for a JDM only right-hand drive automatic station wagon feels simultaneously cheap and like a lot of money. I don't actually know which it is.
This Legnum was a bargain. But generally, I
Legnum's
agree with your
cool.
point. What is
like-
the deal?
Are those going to keep coming in?
Right.
Have we like reached like a saturation point where they're just not worth enough to bring? Are they just so cheap in Japan and the kind of currency, the dynamics being that it's sufficiently cheap that it makes sense?
Right.
I just don't know.
Right.
Truly.
I think about it a lot too. Like,
Who's buying them?
why bother wasting so much legwork and effort when the car is going to bring $8,800? So you bought that in Japan
Right.
for $3,000. You spent
I mean, you
$1,500 to ship
certainly
it.
bought in Japan for $800.
Okay,
right?
fine,
Like,
but still, you spent all the money to ship it.
Right.
You were out the money while it was on the water for 6 weeks.
Yep.
You had to go into your DMV and convince them that this Japanese document is a
Right.
title.
Right.
Like the whole process, and that's assuming it doesn't get damaged in transit and that documents
Yep.
don't get lost, etc. It is interesting to me that so many people do.
And some I get it because like the Acti, interesting. That Legnum,
Yes.
really
Yeah,
cool.
sure.
And even some of these other ones that are cheaper, they're interesting. You couldn't find them here. Maybe you lust after that car.
Sure.
But we also get some cars submitted that are
Yeah.
basically the Toyota Corolla,
Yeah.
or literally the Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, there was some Toyota a
why?
long time ago that was so basic, and I
Like,
just couldn't
why?
understand. Yeah,
I mean, I'm glad they're coming to us. We sell them well, but like,
right.
why are you doing this?
Yeah, and also, who's the demand? I think about that too. Like,
Right.
for a $5,000, $4,000 Subaru Vivio Bistro, like a $4,000 used car is kind of hard to find. Is it
Yeah.
people just buying them to like have a car?
Maybe.
Like, I wonder about that. It's
Yeah.
right-hand drive, so it's annoying, but at the same time, $4,000. What are you going to get in
That's
the
fair.
States?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, you could use that as a daily if you
Right.
like are a student and you're just trying to make it.
Maybe that's
Pretty
the
cool to
move.
drive that around campus, you know?
Yeah, it would be. I think it would
Yeah,
be
they
kind of
look
cool.
so wild.
It would give you a little bit of a leg up in terms of
Yeah,
having
you'd be
something fun.
you'd be that guy with the bistro or whatever.
People would be like, "What is that car?" And you'd
Right.
be like, "It's I sit over here."
Yep. Yeah.
I don't see. I mean, we're in California, so you can't title them here.
Yeah,
But,
they're-
like
they're pretty
Where,
uncommon here.
where do you see them?
You see them not well. The mini trucks you see
The
everywhere.
mini trucks for sure.
The high jets and the Actis
Yeah.
and stuff are everywhere.
Yeah. Agreed.
But other than that, I mean, you go to car meets. You go in the South. These things are everywhere.
Yeah.
Every car meet in Florida and Georgia has one of these. And you know what? When I watch takeover videos,
Oh.
you see a lot of these in the takeover videos.
Has a
Really?
657
No.
cc engine.
Dude, Vivio Bistro is like the main car people use for takeover. No, what you see in takeover videos is G35.
Challengers.
You know, that's the topic for this pod. Is the cheap rear-wheel drive cars, like the 240 SX of this generation is the G35 coupe
without a doubt.
and the Genesis
That's,
coupe.
that's pretty
And
We'll cover that
M4, but we'll talk about that.
No, that's wrong. Okay, I have my
good.
own market report
All right.
topic today, which
All right.
is the Honda S2000.
Oh,
Bubble has popped.
yeah, agreed.
The S2000 was, in 20 and 21, a darling of 20 and 21. It was unbelievably successful, and collectors were snapping them up for like 50 grand if they had low mileage. That's over. Collectors have stopped doing that. Cheap money has gone, and people have realized there's actually a lot more in nice shape out there than we all thought.
Yep.
You can't
There are a
go
lot
lowest
of
mileage kind of.
there are a lot.
We were
that-
like, we better get one of these before they all get modded and you can't find one anymore.
no, there are a
That's
lot of there are
over.
a lot of people who bought these as secondary cars and were maybe a little older and then just didn't drive them much.
This is such a great example. We just sold this one with the factory aero kit. It was an AP1, admittedly, but factory aero kit with 950 miles, clean car for 43. That car during the pandemic would have sold for a lot.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. So go back to the listings. You have over here an AP2 with 8,500 miles that sold probably in that time period
Yep,
in
sold in
23. So that wasn't
23.
even that long ago. For another $4,000, even though it has 10 times the miles.
Or that Laguna Blue Pearl one with
Yeah, with 20
more
times the
miles.
miles sold for the same money. And I think that
or heck, that for $3,000 less, 10,000
I mean,
more
this
miles.
this 01, 12,000 miles sold for 33. I think we're
look
getting,
one to the left of that. That's
right.
the
Right. That car is
think of that.
is the best example. This was like peak pricing at the beginning of 22. This car brings 40 grand with 9,900 miles, and then the one we just sold the other day brought the same money
Yep.
with 900 miles.
50. Yep.
The S2000 Bubbleless Pot, people have realized they're not as hard to find as we all thought they were.
Yep.
And they're still valuable. They're still not really losing money.
Still big money for
for what they are. For
22-year-old
25-year-old.
car, yeah.
I actually think they're undervalued for what they are, but for how many they made, etc.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is over. The 50, 80, $100,000 S2000s
Yep.
is not happening.
With the exception of the CRs, of course. But
I guess, but I bet that bubble pops too.
Yeah, agreed. I think
we'll
that
see.
the right color, right
Well, this
exterior
one,
and interior
the,
color.
The one that I reviewed in San
Yeah.
Francisco is that AC and radio
Yeah,
delete.
and
the
it
right
sold
yellow.
incredibly strong.
It sold well. It did.
But-
And it was a
It sold well.
one-owner car.
Yep.
Which was amazing. But
And some will still retain value, and they're still like you can still sell nice ones for in the 30s.
Yeah, they're gonna
but
still retain value.
I
But as a
agree that it
general-
stopped the upward progression.
The upward
Yeah.
progression has stopped. The S2000 bubble has burst
It-
is the
it
wrong
hasn't-
word because they're
right.
not $6
It has
grand.
slowly
and they never
deflated.
will be. But it has slowly deflated.
I
And
know.
it's
I
back
wish
to a
they were.
baseline.
Remember when they were?
slowly deflated
Yeah.
like a helium balloon that was set in the corner of a room. It just slowly got
Right.
a little lower and a little lower and a
Right.
little lower.
And now it's
What
back
is
to
the
the floor.
cheapest one we've sold?
Oh, that's an interesting
see.
question. Lowest
Cheapest one
10,000 with some mods in 2021.
in
price. A
21.
repaint in 21. Interesting.
Bad
How
wheels.
many miles?
The painted wheels. This one had 194,000 miles.
Yet it still pulls 10. That's
It still
2000.
pulls
In,
10.
in 21, yeah.
Reliability,
Wild.
baby.
Yep. And it's so good. I drove one recently for a video. It is so
Yeah,
good. to
I
drive.
love driving the CR. It was just like everything. The shifter
The
feel
shifter
is one of
is
the
so
nicest shifters.
It's almost like the Carrera GTs when it's warmed up inside the interior.
yeah,
I do
and
kinda
that one you
feel
don't
like
even have to do that.
The floor for a nice
can't.
one though hasn't gone down. You still need to spend 20 to get a nice one.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was a
though,
time
where you
when it
had
was
to spend a little
15
more.
to get a nice one.
That's true.
And now we're like
They did
up,
get cheap.
but they haven't.
Yeah.
The top end.
But
in
it
there.
definitely, I think there was a fear that like collectors were going to be snapping all these up. They'd be
They
$65,000
sold
cars.
so many
soon.
of them though.
But
I'm honestly glad they're not. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a wonderful driving experience, and the whole point was that it was approachable. And
Totally.
anybody could buy one, and I'm glad that largely still is the case. That and that the not really, really, really nice ones have kind of just settled. I don't think you'll necessarily lose a whole lot of money if you buy
No.
a really nice one.
No,
when I'm saying the
agreed.
bubbles popped, I do not think it's going to continue to
No.
Go down. No, I think
I just think
we've hit a good.
25 to
I think it's-
35 is going to do it.
I think maybe the expression is the market has settled now. It's
Has
kind of
settled.
gone out of the craziness, and now we've settled in a nice, comfortable spot.
Comfortable
So
spot.
buy your S2000s and enjoy them.
How many?
Buy and enjoy them because I
Yeah,
think you're not
it doesn't
going to
matter.
change much if you drive
How
them.
many S2000s did they make?
Well, they made them for 10 years.
Right.
I don't know the production number. That's an interesting question.
Many.
But 10 years of
I mean,
production.
we've sold 146.
But toward the end,
110,673 it says.
You're
That's
joking.
a ton.
that's
That's a ton.
that's a commodity.
Yeah. Buy your S2000 and drive it and enjoy it because it's one of the great things you'll do in your entire life. I mean that
Nice.
sincerely.
agreed.
Should I
You
got
should
one?
get one of those. But you can't justify the spend.
Correct.
Okay, time to move on to questions. Questions. Now remember, these are pre-recorded because I'm on vacation, so we're doing this a few weeks before this is actually airing. But we will get back to live question answering soon.
Yep.
You go on Cars and Bids, click on Communities. We'll post a document that asks for your questions, and then we will respond to them. I think maybe a couple of podcasts after this one. But for now, I'm pulling questions off of previous
Ooh.
documents.
The best
starting
questions.
with Ariel Fuller, who asks the following. Bizarre hypothetical, but I'm going to throw it in. If you could pick only one car for the rest of your life to drive, what would you pick and why? Oh, I already have it.
Yep,
already
it's
have the car. It's
behind
sitting
him,
right
it's
here.
his Fame and C39 M5.
Sitting over here.
Yep, truly the only car I like. Even after the Carrera GT experience, the godly experience, and it was wonderful. I got back in my M5, and I'm still happy to get back in my M5. I just love it.
Right over here.
Yep, exactly. That's my answer. E39 M5.
F10 and 5 with a stick. No, I got to think.
I hate what my answer is.
Yeah, Panamera.
No.
Oh, it's
Your
gonna
car.
be the all terrain, isn't it?
E450.
Kinda.
Yeah.
I own the prior generation
Yes.
one. Your car just better. Like I love my wagon,
not-
but like, your car just better.
It's not like thrilling.
No, but like
Okay.
but this is my only car.
Yeah, but don't
Yeah,
you want to
but
have some enjoyment?
that's
No,
my only
no,
car,
no.
and
I'm
it's
a
still
deeply
thrilling.
practical human. I want 7 seats. It's more thrilling than most cars,
It is.
than most 7-seat cars.
Yeah.
It's comfortable. It'll be fine forever.
The answer, of course, is R1S.
Forever, huh?
What, you think it's not going to last?
No, I
Do you
just
think my turbo hybrid?
I just think that
You think his car's gonna last?
Battery technology will get so much better that you will
Lasted this
regret
long.
having 300.
Engine technology has gotten better. Look at this. He's got a. I out.
We're kind of at the end of that, though.
Yeah,
like I think we've had a lot of the engine optimizations that we will have. Your car benefits from most of them.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It is one of the great cars of all time. I mean that sincerely. He drove it once.
Yeah, it's nice. It's fine.
Wait, that's another car that I drove before you.
The E450 Ultra.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because
I picked it up with the transporter. Yes.
And Filippo just picked stuff up off the truck.
It was local. Yeah. It was in the neighborhood. Yeah, those are both good. Yours less good than his. I think the answer is like an M5 of a newer ilk.
For me. F10 with a 6-speed.
F10 with a stick, Panamera Turbo, R1S, my wagon, something in that variety, or a new wagon, like an AMG wagon.
Yeah.
Like forever.
It would get annoying to drive an AMG wagon forever, but if I couldn't go and drive a sports car,
That's fair. Now, I'm not used
you
to
don't
that
care.
life
Yeah,
anyways.
whatever. On the subject of AMGs, Justin Y asks us, any thoughts on the C55 AMG, especially are values increasing? No.
So actually,
Although-
both questions.
Although I disagree, I have tons of thoughts on the C55. I'm going to give them to you right now, Justin. I always said that values wouldn't increase on any of those old AMG cars. Boy, is that wrong about the W210 E55, which it's not like it's expensive. Like, nice ones are still 20, but like they were 7. I bought one for 11 with 49,000 miles in perfect condition back in 2012. So they've gone up. C55 may someday go up. No. It was a naturally.
I know it's
You don't
it's
fault
an,
the car.
it's a very cool car. It's not going to go up, but why would it?
Oh wow, he types in Mercedes Benz.
I have to forget it.
Just press enter. Press enter. Thank you.
You last time I did that, you complained that I
for
didn't click on
different-
it. So
like these are valuable-ish for low mile ones, but like why would? And it's rare that there's a V8 in a car this small.
And it's so
Yeah,
subtle. The
it's so
styling
subtle.
is so subtle.
But
Kenan would
W203
never know that this car
Oh,
has a V8.
I disagree. This is my kind of thing where I would know. it was a
W203
You
is
would
just
know
aren't
this
that
as a
desirable.
C55?
Yeah, of course. I'm very familiar with this.
I know he wouldn't know. But
Yeah, he doesn't
Of
have a
course I
clue.
would know.
he wouldn't have a clue. You
do you
would
think I
have
am?
no clue.
A little baby child.
You didn't know that this car existed until
Of course I did.
I saw
What
one
do you
not
think
that
of fun? Then what
long
was the
ago.
initial version called?
The C36.
No.
No, C43 of.
On this body style, what was the initial version called? Kenan knows. He's sitting here knowing. Oh, he doesn't know.
This
What was it? What was
was
it?
the
Come on.
C32 or C43? Because the prior generation was C36
Technically
and
it was-
C43.
Yes.
This
And then the
C32.
C32 came out. It was a blown V6
Right,
paired
it
with
was like-
the
That's okay.
and
The Crossfire.
yes, the Crossfire SRT6.
This was the compressor. Was the full name right? It got the compressor.
It was
badge,
called
I believe.
C32 AMG.
The C230 was the compressor. with a
compressor
K.
they put on the non-AMG ones.
Okay.
I think that they're cool. I don't think they're gonna.
No, probably not. But these are great cars, and they're severely undervalued and underdesired in today's market, considering they have a massive V8 that is reliable.
Same is true of the SLK 55.
Yeah, that's an awesome car. All the 55.
You reviewed one.
It was
All
a
the
reliable V8. It was like a good powertrain, a legitimately good, reliable, torquey, excellent powertrain.
Yeah.
And I still like how these look.
Yeah, I think they look excellent.
Maybe this is the one car I would have forever.
No, it is too small.
Also,
And Mercedes-Benz interiors of that era,
There is a
as
wagon.
you have said many times,
I-
that you
Trash.
do not like. Yeah,
But there's a wagon.
Doug and I have had this debate. I hate how most C-Class wagons look. All C-Class wagons.
No, the original, the 94 to 01 look
No, I've never enjoyed that generation.
Yeah, I've never enjoyed that generation. Okay, next question. This one is from Hold Up. What are your thoughts on the European competitor of the Miata and MR2, the Fiat Barchetta? Can you pull up a Fiat Barchetta
Okay.
so our
Calling a competitor is generous. It's front-wheel drive for
It is
one.
front-wheel drive.
But I do think it looks cool. I lived in Italy when these came out.
You know this car, Kenan?
We
Yeah, of course.
hosted one, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we sold one
I
for
think
two.
you did.
They look very 90s. They look okay, but they're front-wheel drive and not at all competitor to a Miata or S2000.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, at the end of the day, the competition ended at. We've sold 3. The competition ended with the style. People bought these who didn't care about the driving dynamics.
Yeah.
They wanted like a cool roadster to drive around in Italy that was probably pretty
Also,
cheap.
keep in mind,
beautiful
in the
car. But
90s
also-
in Italy, as today, as till about 5 years ago, nobody bought a car that
Well,
wasn't a
Alpha
Fiat.
Spider was out of production in 1996, I believe.
Yeah, I think
so
This was kind of the next car you could buy.
Yeah.
basically of an affordable.
God, I love the old Fiat
convertible.
logo.
Same. It was a cool car, and I think people wanted it to be stylish, but I think it's not a realistic competitor. I totally agree with that. However, it would be cool to like turn heads in a Fiat Barchetta. For what do they cost? $88.88. Seems high. I'd pay 5.
Bit of a boat.
I'd pay 5. You know what I'd rather have?
Yeah, bit of a boat. Nice, Filippo.
Thank you. Thank you
know,
for the
it's a
recognition
little
of
boat, yep.
the
You know what
joke
I'd
there.
rather have? I know what Barchetta. You know what I'd rather have?
Fiat Coupe.
C55 AMG.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Same price, frankly.
Next question, and wrongly so. The C55 deserves higher value. Next question. This one from Swazzle.
Oh, Swazzle.
Doug, why would you ever buy a Countach over a Vector W8? Ken and I'll let you handle this one.
The main reason, of course, is they don't exist.
They don't exist.
They never transact. Finding one for sale is basically impossible.
Yeah,
they just
there's,
never.
There's
come
how many?
around.
There's 22.
I think that's right.
Had one come up, would you have? Are they in the same price range? I
Okay,
do not know
that's
what
the
W8s
other.
are
That's
worth.
the other. There's 22, which is light.
To be clear, not 22 for sale.
No, there's 22 globally.
Globally made.
So that's like a light number. Like I'm looking for a car that has a production run of at least 36.
Ooh.
Yeah.
At least 36. That's legitimate in your mind. 36 is the number.
No, like
250
300
GTO production is like
There,
around there. It's
good.
like what he's
It's
looking
ready
for.
to go. No,
Well, that and like so not around.
Not
and
around.
Countach is it's an icon.
yeah, but have you
more
seen
so.
a Vector? Pull up a Vector W8 just so we can look at it.
That
and
is an
agree.
icon.
The pricing is a factor.
How much are they worth?
A
We don't
lot.
know because there's 22.
No. Okay, so here's what happened. I went and reviewed that one. Everybody,
picture's so good.
everybody. Oh, look
Wild.
at that.
Such a wild
so
automobile.
What were they? How?
What were they thinking?
Can you describe it for the listeners at home?
It just looks like speed. Everything about the
Totally.
car
That car,
looks like
more than
speed.
any car I've ever seen in my life, looks like it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour stopped. More than any other car.
Yeah.
I consider the Countach to be the most radical automotive design ever, except for this. The difference being that they made a
The Countach was
real
an
number
actual
of
car.
cars, and they made 22 of these. And
Yeah.
and I could make something crazy looking if I was doing a 22 unit production.
There are
They-
kit car companies that have produced
Yeah,
more.
that's right. Yeah, absolutely, there are.
So
Yeah.
So the question was, why did I buy one over the W8? And yeah, it would have been cool as hell. So here's what happened on pricing. I went and reviewed this red one in
Yeah.
New Jersey
I recall.
5 years ago. One sold right after that
Ooh.
for way more than anybody thought. And the owner of the red one in New Jersey, not the one that sold, but he texted me and he was like, I really think that your review helped like to spur. And people are always asking me, do you change the market on these cars? No. I generally believe I never have any effect on the market. That car, maybe a little.
Oh.
Maybe it had made people remember it a little bit more or whatever. They sell for 600,000 to 800,000, and that's a lot of money for.
That's within the range. You spent
Yeah,
6.
no, but it's a lot of money for
for a car that doesn't exist and parts are not available, you have to contact a guy who like used to work for the company who could maybe make you some parts.
That's exactly how he got wheels.
Right. That's terrifying. You know? I mean, especially for someone who doesn't want to be inconvenienced. Like, that's an inconvenience.
true.
Yeah.
You'd require a custodian to take care of this car. Like,
It would be cool as hell. I would love to have one in a dream garage with 50 cars. This would definitely be in there. Even a dream garage with 15 cars, this would be in there. It's just too hard. It's too hard, and it's too hard to find. And
But boy, imagine.
oh, man, it would be an absolute showstopper anywhere you took it.
Yeah.
Even more than Countach.
Let me summarize that for all you. Doug is not cool enough.
I am
bought a
pretty
W8.
cool,
Yeah.
but there's
Not
a
enough.
level where it stops. I would love to do it. Maybe in retirement, I'll get one as a retirement
And
project.
start working on it yourself.
Work on it myself, dude. It was a big GM V8 and a GM 3-speed auto.
You're great at working
which
on
was
those.
mounted between the driver's seat and the door.
Oh, easy to access. That's great.
There are a lot of weird things about that car.
Bizarre automobile.
So the question was, why would you ever get a Countach from W8? The answer is, I wish I had gotten a C55. Next question, Doug, why did you buy a Mark V GTI? What were your thoughts on it? I bought a Mark V GTI when I was graduating from college. My Audi A4 that I had at the time destroyed its transmission.
No.
Classic.
And Tiptronic, as they all did. And so I bought a Mark V GTI, which was certified pre-owned. And I had it for like a year before I started getting company cars at Porsche.
Did it have plaid seats?
Yes, it had plaid seats, and it was a 2-door stick, base model.
Stick.
The thing I liked the most about it is it didn't have those radioactive wheels, that they all have. Mine was just
do,
a regular snowflake-looking wheel, and I loved it. My thoughts on it was pretty good, actually. I kind of liked it, but ultimately it was front-wheel drive and kind of tall, and so it pitched a lot in corners, and it's gone. It's in North Carolina now. Someone else is driving it. Perhaps Kennan's beau Emily.
Oh, maybe that's
Emily's
how we'll
not
find
from
Emily.
North Carolina.
Oh, where's she from?
I'll figure out.
The other day I actually assessed that Emily has an E90 CRT. Were those all M3s?
Yeah. Yes, of course. What do
You
mean?
say, of course, it was a carbon fiber trunk lid.
Yeah, the E90 CRT.
No, I haven't
No, they didn't do an
This is
E90.
one of the wild. This video is great. There's stuff I never heard. You know they made a V12 Z3.
Yeah, I saw that.
You saw that? Okay.
Yes, the E90
I
M3
skimmed.
CRT. They did not do a 335
What-
CRT.
what
They
is-
were
They
all
shoulda.
M3s.
They should have. It
What
was a
is
carbon fiber
CRT?
trunk.
I
Was
understand.
it
They were only doing it
carbon-
to show off that they could, like for the M3. Nobody would. I mean, it was a really expensive car then. It's still expensive
E90
now.
M3.
What does
They're all
CRT
sedans,
stand
right?
for?
All
Carbon
sedans, just the-
something technology.
It was carbon racing technology.
Carbon racing technology. Okay, so they come out with this thing. Meanwhile, the Carrera GT by then had already had a carbon fiber chassis. They're like, we got this. We got this.
Right.
And they create an M3 with a carbon fiber trunk lid.
And they named it after a type of television.
and a carbon fiber lip, and then they decided to highlight these elements in Melbourne red. All the cars were painted frozen silver, and so like really stands out. But yeah, carbon
Sorry,
lip, carbon seats.
They painted the carbon fiber?
Yeah, like the carbon, like it's carbon, but it's got like
Pull
a
it up.
little lip.
Pull up one of these.
I'll
things.
show you the M3 CRT.
And then I'll watch the video, I promise.
I saw one of these in person once. Did you know that, Kenan?
No, like
I mean,
in Germany or
That's
in
pretty discreet.
You know, yeah, you think that until you like look more closely. Hold on, I gotta find one.
Can you show me
I've
the
got-
carbon fiber trunk lid? That's the real selling.
Bam! Carbon fiber trunk lid looks exactly the same as a normal one.
On the inside, you can tell.
On the
And that's that was the cool thing about this car. You would show up at a club trying to like impress people, and you'd be like, check out the inside of my trunk lid.
This will highlight all of the little like touches that they did.
Oh.
So this car got MPE exhaust, I believe it's the M Performance exhaust. It got some special exhaust system, but additionally, like
They
it got-
literally did paint like small things red.
yeah,
Oh my
Melbourne
God.
red, like just.
And Emily's just driving one of these things around.
Good for her.
Yeah.
She'll fit right in.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
tough because she's got to talk to everybody who knows what it is, all the BMW club events we go to. So she's like the celebrity and whatever. But you know,
Love seeing what ads Ken gets, by the way.
yeah, it's all watches, of course.
For Pepsi's.
But they also did these vents on the. Yeah,
One watch. They can
that is a Pepsi. You're right. Been looking at them. So they also painted the vents Melbourne
Wow.
red for some reason.
Notable.
You're right about the interior though. The interior got the cool seats, and also the rear seats are buckets. They're not like a bench in the
Oh,
back.
like
They're
in the
individual
Dodge Durango Shelby SP360.
Not as cool as that. Those are like dedicated individual buckets, but
It just like turned up the edges. It was
Wow.
normal rear seats, just that the edges turned up. But I will tell you this: Emily and Kenan have spent some time on those edges.
all right. That's
All right, I think we can.
a bridge
move on
too far.
from this.
Next question from Lawton12. Do you think Mercedes will ever put a V8 back in the C63? Filippo?
No.
Okay, next question. I agree.
I have to think about it for a second, but
Next question from Grunk. Something. It was Grunk, and then it was very long after that, and it was too hard. Plus, it might be a curse word in like Norwegian, so I didn't want to.
are you worried that grunk is a curse word?
Ooh. To all, which cars do you want to own at one point in your life?
C7 Corvette.
He's going to say a C7.
I mean, there's so yeah, it's kind of
Indianapolis
asking like
green.
what are your attainable
No,
dream
something
cars
like
is kind of what it's asking, or maybe your aspirational dream cars and you want to achieve that aspiration. For the longest time, the answer to that was the 355 for me, and then I did it, which was great,
And we learned something.
and I learned something. But I think for me, you won't like this answer, but I just have a hanker. The Challenger is one of my all-time like favorite cars. Like I just think they're so cool. They're all tips, unfortunately.
You've been giving him crap all day.
Yeah, but this is like a cool frog. He wants just a normal automatic.
Our
normal frog.
producer, Sean.
And I've already owned the 355. I already did the more beautiful car. Our producer Sean claimed that the 355 is uglier than the 360. He thinks the 360 is more
all
beautiful.
morning, Sean's been like, hey, I want a 360 with a tip. Or then a tip. I don't even know what it's called. F1. We call it tip. and Kennan's been like, that's the and I agree with, that's the stupidest thing. Shouldn't you get a 612 or whatever? We've given him 50 alternatives. And now, what car do you want to own someday if you could dream of
CS.
any car?
A
One
tip.
point in your
Well, no,
life, you
this
go,
is like
I want a tip 360.
this is the Challenge Stradale is a really really special car. And
I drove one.
I've driven one too. I thought it was amazing. I loved it. I love it's raw and like I love the way it drove.
Would have been nice if it had 3 pedals, though.
People are converting them. Imagine that. That would be kind of nice.
That would be cool.
And I
That
would
would
do that.
Ferrari
Manual
purists, though.
360
That would be
Challenge
cool. I
Stradale.
don't care about those people.
Yeah.
I don't like
I
those
think that
people.
would be
I don't want
really
those
cool.
people.
you
And
gonna
that for me is like it comes from that era, that Schumacher era, which was really special.
Yeah.
And I just think red with the stripes and the red and black interior. Pretty
Fair.
cool car.
Do you have an answer? I have an answer. But do you have an
Yeah,
answer?
F40 is my answer, which Grunk whatever actually suggested as should be my answer, and he's right. That's the only car I really still want. I mean, I would love an SE30 Diablo.
Yeah.
I would love an F50. I would love a Zonda. But like, if I had zillions of dollars, I don't think I would buy all those cars. I don't care about I don't want 74 cars and have to deal with specialists for all of them. So I want one more. It's an F40, rounds out the group.
Well, yeah. So, okay. Yeah.
What? You got a problem with that?
Yeah, it's like I'd love to have an F40. I don't know if it will be attainable for me based on how the prices.
Oh,
of them
you're
now.
saying you would have said F40, but you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to think like more like I will actually get to it, and like I can also
It's the only
to
car.
your point about spending money, $2.5 million on an F40. I'd have to have a lot of money to justify that. But $300,000. Like I hope to get to a point where I can justify that in my life. It'll still be out. It's still an outrageous amount of money for a car. But
I only said F40 because it is literally the only car left on.
I mean,
my list
yeah,
that I
and
actually
money,
want.
no object, F50, no question. Like, but they're $5 million now. So
Yeah,
we
lost the F50s.
We sure did.
But we can still get a set of shoes.
Even then,
Yeah, no, the shoes
Hard
are
to
40
find.
grand. Wow. They never come up.
No, the
But
real
if they did, dude, F50 shoes, I would give anything.
the person I want to hear this answer from though is Filippo.
Yeah, Filippo.
you're not gonna like my
What
answer.
car?
I don't have
at
any aspirational
some
cars.
point in your life. What do you
All
aspire?
right,
Yeah, you
to?
thought my
Plug-in hybrid minivan, like a Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid,
what's
but
it like?
reliable.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
thought-
joking.
What about a Sienna that isn't plugged in?
No, I think the Sienna doesn't look good. I think the Pacifica looks great.
Sienna does not look good, and the Pacifica does look good, but it is not reliable.
I have thought about this a lot. I do not have kids. At some point in the future, probably will have kids.
But
I am excited for the moment that I can go out and buy a
Get
plug-in hybrid
yourself a
minivan.
minivan.
I'm not joking. I've thought about this for the last 5 years.
Man,
They're great.
so many stereotypical guys dread the moment when
No,
they have to
I am
go get the
excited
minivan.
about.
And
I
Filippo's
can't
like,
justify a
What about
minivan in my life right now. I don't have a need for a minivan.
right.
But I'm excited for when I do.
What about a fully electric minivan, like the EV9?
That's a crossover. Sliding doors.
Oh, you need sliding doors
I
to be a
do.
minivan? You don't think the original Honda Odyssey
I
was a
don't
minivan?
know.
What
I
do you
thought-
think it was?
A multi-purpose vehicle, an MPV.
Do you know what that was sold as in Europe?
Yes,
Oh, yes. I
One
love
second.
stumping Filippo, but he kind of knows. What was the original Honda Odyssey called in Europe? Kenan, you're also welcome to participate.
I don't remember.
The shuttle, the Honda shuttle. Okay, regardless.
What was the Isuzu version? I'm blanking on that.
The Oasis.
Oasis, thank you.
Regardless, that is your answer.
Yeah, 100%.
If you could have any car, you're dreaming someday.
I
you'll
don't
have,
have dreams of.
You don't have dreams of supercars. You don't
No,
care.
I don't care.
The other day, though, you hit on some supercar that you thought was kind of.
I think the 555 look great.
yeah, that's
I want
another
to
one
own
on
You
my
would
list.
never have one.
I don't
right?
want. I don't want it.
I plan to have one at some stage.
Like I think they're cool.
Right. You're just gonna drive around. He'll have an F50, I'll have an F40, and you'll have a Pacifica plug-in.
And $2 million in my
and
bank
we'll all
account.
be equally as happy.
We'll all be equally as happy.
I'm an easy to please person. I guess. What takeaway here?
Yeah, it doesn't take. It's pretty easy to find a Pacifica plug-in. Just go to
Well,
the
no, no,
buyback
no, no,
lot
no,
at
no, I'm
the
sorry.
in Auburn Hills.
I want to be clear. A Pacifica hybrid, but reliable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So,
Different.
in other words, it doesn't exist. So,
Not-
at least
not currently.
We have attainable cars in the sense that they were actually built.
If you are a manufacturer, please build some plug-in hybrid minivans so that I
Someday.
can buy them in 5 years.
Someday, someone will. For now, you're stuck with the Pacifica, which I recently went to review a car. A fella had a Pacifica plug-in, and I said, "How's it been?" He said, "I'm afraid to take my family out of it."
Which is such a shame because I've had some rental car Pacificas and I've loved them dearly, but I want the hybrid.
Okay, he's insane, and that's our podcast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with news and more podcasts soon. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye, Emily. Thanks
we'll
for
wave
watching.
again.